Hey there, everybody. Do you think that you can only see red flags before you start a relationship and that you should only notice them before you get into something long term with someone? Or do you think that you can spot red flags even after you've been in a relationship for a really long time? I think that it takes a while for people to actually spot those red flags. And the reason for that is because I don't really want to call it the honeymoon phase, but whenever people start a relationship with someone and they're kind of infatuated with them, it's harder for them to see the red flags. And then after some time, that feeling sort of wears off and the other person might not be putting their best foot forward anymore, so you get to see their true personality. Then whenever their true personality is coming out, you will start to see more red flags. And this story right here is a major red flag. This couple is wild to me, and it's not only just the husband in this situation, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Let's get into this crazy story. It says, my 42 husband has informed me he intends to go on a gaycation, in quotes, with his brother-in-law 35M to Ibiza. How do I handle this? Hi there. I really wish I didn't have to make this post, but here goes. So me and my husband have been happily married for about 16 years, give or take. I wonder what the give or take means, but I'm going to keep going. We both have stable careers, good family life, and are fairly fortunate despite the cost of living racking the UK right now. We have 2 boys, 15 and 10, and up until this Sunday, thought we had it pretty good. We argue sometimes, of course, but never gotten too bad, and we have a pretty decent sex life with some exploration, but I won't get into that. I feel like you should. I feel like you should get into that, especially after reading that title, but whatever. Long and short is, on Sunday, just after I dropped our boys off at their friends, my husband asked me if we had the house alone, and more importantly, do I have a minute? Ooh, you're married, and then your spouse comes to you and says, honey, do you have a minute? You know it's going to be serious because you're already married. Can't you just go up to your spouse and say whatever you have to say without setting aside time and like glancing around to see if you've got everything all set to have a serious conversation on your own? I said yes, and he sat me down, then got out his print poster for some sort of orgy and started explaining to me the concept of a gaycation. How it's where straight men go to somewhere with sun, sand, and booze and become gay for the duration of the trip. But that's fine because it doesn't actually count, because what happens on the gaycation stays on the gaycation. Okay, I don't want anyone to think that I'm making fun of gay people for doing this or whatever. It's fine if you go do this, but that's not really what a gaycation is, really, isn't it? If you're gay and you go on a vacation with all of your gay friends, that would be a gaycation, right? It doesn't mean you have to be straight and then you turn gay. By the way, how do you even turn gay? You just are gay. And don't try to argue with me about being gay. Think about why for yourself. I was just completely silent and mortified, even more so when he said he was looking into booking a trip to Ibiza next year with his brother-in-law, his sister's husband, to experience it for himself. When he finally let me speak, I just said, I need him to be clear with me. Is he gay? The woman wrote this. I'm not asking this. Because if yes, that's okay, but we need to figure out what happens going forward. I didn't let myself get angry or upset. I was just stunned. He swore up and down how he's not gay and he's 100% attracted to women. And of course, still loves me and our boys. So I said, well, do you think you're bi maybe? And he got very defensive, saying that I need to drop the accusations and that this is the beauty of the gaycation. It allows straight men to experience gayness without actually being gay, and how it's like going to an aquarium. She put 3 question marks. And again, he was adamant he doesn't find men's bodies or genitalia exciting at all, but he needs to experience this apparently. I'm not laughing because someone wants to experience this, but the aquarium? So is he saying he's just gonna go and like stand behind glass while everyone else is doing it? Because, you know, people are into that too, okay? But I don't think that's what he's talking about here. Why the aquarium? It's okay if you're bi, but I know that a lot of bi men really do get defensive if they are bi men. And there's also kind of a stigma more around bi men, especially in a heterosexual relationship. And I'm sorry if there's like a trigger. Watch out, baby, won't be to some bi men if you are seeing this, or anyone who gets kind of triggered by this type of conversation in general. But whenever someone hears about a girl being bi, there's a different reaction than how people react to them finding out that a man is bi. And it's not fair. I just want to throw that out there. It's not fair. And even in a relationship, when a man finds out that their wife or their girlfriend is bi, they're like, oh, cool, great, but then if a woman finds out that a man is bi, it's like they're automatically ready to just kick them out. And I'm not saying that's for all relationships. It's not all relationships. I know that there are women who are out there who are accepting of this, but I'm just saying, I've just heard a lot. Okay, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, whatever. I've just heard a lot of people reacting this way in a relationship. So I can understand why bi men do get really offensive, but it's actually not fair when a lot of people hear this from a bi man and they just say, oh, you're gay, just admit it. It's not fair. Who are you to say what sexuality someone is? If they say that's what they are, it is fine. But also, why do people have to disclose what they're attracted to and what they like and why? And then who are you to say, oh no, you like both people, so you actually just want to be gay, but you don't want to say it, You don't choose these things, and you don't choose who you're attracted to. I've never walked down the street, saw someone cute, and said, I'm going to like them. It just happens to you, and that's no matter what sexuality you are. You're just attracted to people. Let's go on. Man, I went off on this. I said, well, I'm not really comfortable because even if he was bi, this would be explicitly cheating on me, and he got angry and reiterated he's not, because that's the beauty of gaycation, etc. I just had enough and left the room. And I get what she's saying here. She's not saying it's because he might be bi. It's because he wants to go on this sort of trip where everyone's just gonna get together and do it basically while he's married. So it's not really about his sexuality. I'm pretty sure in this kind of situation, it would be the same if he pulled out a poster for this type of party, even with straight people, like a swingers sort of thing. And then she would still probably have the same type of reaction saying, that's still cheating. But can you say that's the beauty of a swingers party? No, it's not. You're cheating in the marriage. And then if you've already come to terms with like going out and exploring things, then I think there's more to be said about that. But if you're already in a relationship where you guys agree to be monogamous with each other, then this would be considered cheating. You kind of have to make this type of agreement beforehand, but I'm going to keep reading. I ignored him for the rest of the day, but we spoke at tea where I again asked him, why does he need to do this so bad if he's not gay? He said how he's interested in how gay men's life different to straight men's, and that unfortunately, once the gaycation begins, it's simply impossible for a man to resist, and he must surrender himself, mind, body, and soul to the gaycation or be destroyed. Did AI write this? Because whoa. I gotta stop myself from really laughing. It's really okay if he's gay, but you don't need to try and hide it. If it's something, even if he thinks he's straight and it's something that he does want to experience, it's okay to say, I've been thinking more about exploring this side and I feel like I might be attracted to men, but I'm just not sure. Saying that you have to go and surrender yourself to this and that other people would go and you just can't control it. I'm pretty sure there are men out there who would say, I have never wanted to experience something like this, even though I'm straight. I feel like I could probably go and not really feel like I have to surrender to the gaycation, but I want to hear more about what this guy has to say. I really can't put into words how surreal it was because he was speaking so matter-of-factly, and he again insists this is a thing that straight men do all the time, and how he's actually doing it a bit late. I just said to him, if he has any love for me, then he can't go ahead with this, and if he does, the marriage will be dead. And you know what? I do also want to say that there are straight men who have probably just tried to have sex with another man, or straight men who have made out with their straight men friends just to see if there's any type of spark, or tried to watch gay porn or something. But going all the way out there to do that and then being very defensive about why you're going to do that does kind of ring some kind of bells. The alarms are slightly going off. But the wife is also focusing on the wrong thing, the way she's bringing it up. And I'm not saying that what she's doing is wrong, because I would be wondering these things too. But at the same time, for me, it wouldn't really be about him being gay or not. It would be more about, why do you have to go to a party where everyone is going to be doing this if you're in a marriage agreement with me, the wife? Hey guys, if you're enjoying the story right now, please subscribe, baby, subscribe. Back to the post. Explain that part, because it's not really about sexuality in this case. It's more about going outside of the marriage to like this whole festival where your health is also kind of at stake, and it's not really like his health. I know people can be careful and stuff, but whenever someone even cheats in a marriage and they go sleep with someone else, man or a woman, the first thing that you should probably do is get an STD testing done, because you don't know where they went or who they were with and what they're bringing back to you and your body. So you would have to be careful, especially after a giant group gets together to do it. We didn't speak anymore after that. Since then, he's mentioned no more of it, but somehow, and this is what scares me a lot too, that decision generally seems to be tearing him up. He didn't go into work on Monday and only went in half a day yesterday because he told him he just felt too ill and he just looks distraught every time I see him. I really don't think he's wholly gay though, and I can absolutely believe he's bi, but I'd rather we talked about that in a healthy way rather than this incredibly weird denialism around going on a sketchy holiday to Ibiza. Has anyone known straight guys to do this and come back and just go back to being straight? Like, surely that can't be a thing that happens. I'm so out of my depth here, and I just don't know how to even initiate the conversation. For the record, I also haven't mentioned it to his sister yet. I don't know how I'd even break it to her. Thanks for any help. I just don't even want to think. So being able to get this out there has helped even just a little bit. And yeah, actually, I was wondering the whole time about the brother-in-law, because if you remember the title, it mentions going on this trip with the brother-in-law who is his sister's husband. And the title says, "My 42F husband, 42M, has informed me he intends to go on a gaycation with his brother-in-law, 35M, to Ibiza." So it wouldn't even be him going on this trip alone and trying to explore this aspect of himself alone. He's going with his sister's husband, who is his brother-in-law. Now, this part is what gets me the most, and I'm surprised that the wife didn't really talk about this aspect that much, because for me, this would also be adding to the alarm bells. It's not so much about him wanting to go explore his sexuality or him taking this gaycation and saying that it's what straight men do and everything. That's really funny, but in this case, the fact that he's going with his brother-in-law is making me think that there's something going on between him and his brother-in-law, right? Wouldn't that be the case? And if it's not already going on, then they plan on exploring that with each other whenever they go on this trip. It's not even about going on this trip and you go find random people and then try it out with them. It's probably a safe space for them to try out things with each other. And then if they're thinking, oh, if I bring this up to my wife in this type of way where we say, oh, a bunch of straight men do this and everyone tries it and I'm just late and we're just going together, then it'll probably be okay because I'm telling my wife about it straight flat out, you know. But in this case, the wife does have a problem with it because you are going against your agreement of marrying someone and remaining in a monogamous relationship. But it would be interesting for this woman to go and talk to her sister-in-law about it, because I would really want to know what's going on their end and if they've agreed to this, and like, how did the brother-in-law bring it up? Because it's very interesting that it isn't just the husband by himself, right? Anyways, I do want to get into some comments. Your husband isn't proposing a gaycation. He's proposing cheating on you with men while using magical thinking to pretend it doesn't count. The fact that he's planning this with his sister's husband makes it even more disturbing. His bizarre explanation about surrendering mind, body, and soul isn't straight man curiosity. It's someone desperately trying to justify exploring his sexuality while keeping his heterosexual marriage. His depression about not being able to go isn't about missing a vacation. It's about being forced to confront his sexuality without his convenient "what happens in Ibiza stays in Ibiza" excuse. His meltdown over not going shows how desperately he wants to avoid facing this reality. That part is also very interesting to me, about him not really being able to accept that his curiosity in this matter does say something about his sexuality. And even though I'm the type of person that this doesn't really matter to, because I believe you can like anyone, the fact that she brought this part up instead of asking more about the other areas of their marriage does kind of point to his reaction of being defensive about his sexuality and about being distraught in terms of why he would want to go, kind of bringing up more and more about why this is so important to him. And I do feel like, and I'm not married, and you know, this part is very complicated, so it is just my opinion, but I do feel like there are a lot of men who are married and have been married for a long time who are bisexual, who also never went and explored that side of their sexuality. And there are bisexual people in heterosexual relationships who love the relationship that they're in. And it doesn't mean that just because someone is bisexual that they're automatically gonna feel a need to leave the person that they're in a heterosexual relationship with just to go be gay for a time, because that's not how it works. That's not how sexuality works, and that's not how attraction works, and it's also not how agreements work. And the same thing could happen in a monogamous heterosexual relationship where the couple is together and a guy can go and cheat with another woman. It doesn't matter what his sexuality is. He's breaking the trust and the bond of the relationship no matter who he's going off and cheating with. So sexuality in this case doesn't really matter, but to him it seems like it really does, just based on the excuse that he was giving in order to cover up why he would want to go on that gaycation. I hope that makes sense. OP answered that one and said, I read over this multiple times, and I guess the worst part is I know you're completely right. The person answered back, I kind of like this conversation between them, so this will be the last part I'm reading from them. I know this realization hurts. Your husband has created this elaborate fantasy, not just to cheat, but to avoid confronting something fundamental about himself. His extreme reaction to being told no isn't about a missed vacation. It's about losing his escape route from reality. The gaycation excuse is just that, an excuse. He's trying to find a loophole where he can act on his desires without having to question his identity or face difficult truths about himself. Now, he's forced to either confront his sexuality or keep suppressing it, and neither option seems possible for him right now. And that's kind of what I was saying, but this person really wrote that so good for them. But I agree. I think he's probably bringing up this kind of event so that he can go and say, oh, it's okay because I explained it this way and my wife agreed with me this way. But since she asked about his sexuality specifically, he does kind of have to face it, because I know that there are plenty of people who would not feel the need to go on this gaycation because it's not a part of their sexuality. And even if it's not a part of your sexuality and you do want to go on this gaycation, you would probably have to admit to yourself that it does have something to do with your sexuality. It doesn't need to be a bad thing. You just need to be honest with yourself on why this type of trip would be important. Here's a really good comment. It says, he's attempting to justify how having a holiday where he will potentially be engaging in same-sex relationships is somehow permissible in the context of a committed relationship with you. Calling it a gaycation is meaningless. The fact is that he wants to go away and have a bunch of sex with other men. You are entitled to be outraged by this. I do not see it as being any different to him saying he wants to go away on a sex holiday. Now, this is really interesting because that's what I was saying. If he was in a relationship and he just wanted to go do this with other women, it would still be a problem. But the way he's covering it up is really pointing more towards sexuality in this case. If you said that you want to go away to Vegas and hook up with other men for a week, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas applies. Do you think he would be receptive? Ultimately, he plainly has some bisexual interest, as otherwise I cannot see how he would find the concept of this appealing. However, he cannot distinguish it from having sex outside the marriage just by rebranding what it is called. And that is so true. You can't call it just some random exploration that you absolutely have to surrender to, because that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what he's going for. He's going to have this type of relationship outside of the marriage with a bunch of other people, including his brother-in-law, which I'm surprised I can't find that many comments about the brother-in-law. I think you need to draw a line and say you don't agree to him doing this, and also you need a serious conversation about why he feels the need to do this. Is it a midlife crisis? Either way, the fact he even suggested it is alarming, and he needs to be able to say whether he's happy in the marriage or not. And I feel like she kind of did draw the line whenever she said, if you go on this trip, the marriage is dead. That is a pretty clear line in the sand to me, but I don't know about people in relationships and whether or not they would see this as a clear line being drawn. If she already expressed her disinterest in this guy doing it like that, then I would have to say that is definitely setting a boundary, and it is very clear on what he would need to do to go ahead and break up their relationship, and that would be going on this trip. Someone else said, I'd look more into this. I think he's having an affair with his sister's husband. Yes, finally someone said it. Otherwise, how does he know he'd agree to something like that? Also, he wouldn't be in the house anymore, and him just asking to cheat would be enough to end the marriage. Someone else says, this seems surely to be the case. He almost certainly has been exploring his sexuality with his brother-in-law. OP should say something to her sister about this craziness. Now, we don't know if it's definite that he has been exploring this this side of his life with the brother-in-law just yet, but there might be some type of relationship between them where they haven't done anything yet. But I definitely would want to bring it up to my sister-in-law because I would wonder what their relationship looks like to someone else's perspective, especially if the wife in this scenario wasn't really expecting her husband to even bring up this type of gaycation to her, let alone going with her brother-in-law. That's crazy. This one says, so I guess the question is how long he's been attracted to your brother-in-law and whether they're waiting on Ibiza to bang it out or if they've started already. That's a really good question. That's kind of what I want to know because I feel like there is something going on between the brother-in-law and the husband, but you don't exactly know how far it's gotten. Now finally, the one I've been waiting for. I struggle to believe this is real because it's so insane. Ignoring the part where your husband clearly is not straight, he's basically proposing that he gets a week-long cheating vacation and bringing another family member into this, no less. You do not need to be okay with your partner cheating on you, and that is an absurd ask. I'm bisexual in a heterosexual relationship, and I have not done all the things with women that I would have liked to, but I fully understand that since I'm in a monogamous relationship with a man, I will never likely do those things. And I have zero issue with that whatsoever, because it's a monogamous commitment that I chose to be in, and I care more about him in that commitment than fulfilling every sexual desire I might have. That's exactly what I was saying. Even if you are bisexual and you are in a relationship like this, you still have a brain in your head that you can use to make decisions with. You don't have to automatically go to a place where your body gives up on making decisions and forgets about making a commitment to someone because you still decided to do this with your life by being in a relationship with someone, marrying someone of the opposite sex. Even if you are attracted to someone of the same sex, you still agree to be in a relationship with them. And if that's a monogamous thing, then going on a cheating vacation isn't a part of that relationship. Guys, this one is so crazy. I really want to know your opinion on this, but in this situation, I also want to say what I would do. And I think I would just want to have an honest conversation about why I'm not okay with this. And even if they are bisexual or wanting to explore their sexuality, that's one thing, but I would really like for them to face it head on instead of making up an excuse about why they need to go on a whole gaycation where all of this stuff happens and more people get involved into the relationship. And I would also want to be safe about it. This type of exploration does not seem safe to me whenever you put yourself in this kind of holiday. And I'm not saying it's automatically not safe because everyone's gay. It's just too many people kind of lessens how safe you can be in my mind. And I would also want to know more about the relationship between my husband and brother-in-law if I was the woman in this scenario. It wouldn't just be about him wanting to go on the gaycation. I'd be like, why are you going with the brother-in-law? Is there something between you guys? Because it's crazy that she never really mentioned that more than just the title and introducing who he is. Very, very strange to me. So what do you guys think? Please subscribe if you like this video because I really like making them. Subscribe, baby, subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.